actually walks around here, and but you can still pick him up if you want to. That's probably the cutest animation we have, when the kid picks up Teddy and just kind of pets him a bit, and it really adds to sort of me feeling happy and fond to Teddy.
She seemed so sad and desperate.
Again, we see the theme of pipes and the like brass-colored pipes and all this, which was a part of the Teddy's machinery, which we mentioned earlier. And we kept it in the game because the story was changed, and there was iterations to the story so late in the development that this was already implemented, and we just couldn't have found the time to make it any different.
But it still works out, you know. That's a good. When we changed the story, we also realized that most of the game was actually kind of supporting that story anyway. So that was kind of a really like one of the reasons why we changed. We recognized that this wasn't a huge difference in what we have to produce and change.
Mm.
Hey, it's going to be so nice when we're through with all this, and we can play together all the time.
The dialogue in these hub levels is also made with the purpose of making Teddy realize how serious and dangerous the situation is for the child, but to still put on a brave face and be the voice saying that when we get out, we can play together and everything will be fun, and just giving both the child and the player hope. And also he keeps mentioning the mother, and that she must be so worried and all that. And this is all to keep reminding the player that you are searching for the mother, and this is the end goal. And yes, so to reinforce the whole mother concept.
Teddy's role here is to kind of be explanatory. He just kind of tells you what you have experienced, and with a sort of interpretation of it. Teddy's role here is to kind of be explanatory. He just kind of tells you what you have experienced, and with a sort of interpretation of it. Teddy's role here is really nicely. The way that Teddy climbs up there is so cool.
Mm.
Good. Another one down. Listen. We are getting very close to her. I can feel it. Oh, she must be so worried about you.
This level is named Into the Closet, and this was one of the early concepts we had for a level, because since we have the theme of a child, and since you play a child in the game, we have the theme of children, and so we looked at things that we were afraid of when we were young, and some common themes. And closet doors was one that we started looking at early, and we imagined. I think it started out as just a room with covered in closet doors, but then it ended up being a whole level with only hallways and rooms covered in closet doors, and then being in some of the closets and traversing them.
Yeah, so I really like the variety that we managed to get into the game. Like every level is kind of a contained space in terms of art assets and stuff. So we, like here for instance, this whole level is like inside a big closet with closet doors everywhere, and also kind of strange gravitational laws of physics, where stuff just sticks to the ceiling, and it's really, we wanted it to be very confusing and feel much bigger than it actually is, and it was also an environment that stood out from the other ones, as they all do in certain ways.
This chapter also works well as the visuals resembles a broken home or just a chaotic home, which works well with the theme.
So we had a lot of trouble optimizing this level. Everything is constructed in one big scene in Unity, and it has a lot of closet doors everywhere, and actually it has a lot less doors than we actually wanted to have. We wanted there to be hallways leading everywhere and doors going in one place, and you exit in a completely different place on the other side. Really confusing, but still it was supposed to feel very big, so we made it actually big, and we got to pay for that, as the frame rate was very hard to keep down. So as this level is rather big and confusing by design, we needed kind of a red thread for the player to follow through the level, and this endless drawer, as we call it, works in that fashion, as well as being a bridge that you have to extend in order to reach the deeper parts of the level. So it works both as a guide for the player, but also a blocker and a gate that we can use to limit the player's progression.
Tell us about this drawer. Was it fun?
Well, it's a really long drawer. It's called the endless drawer internally here. It's about 200 meters long, I think. And you need to move it and walk on it. And it needs to collide properly with the geometry, well, the physics engine isn't really designed to properly handle 200 meter long drawers. So there's been a lot of interesting problems with that, like it getting stuck in various things and exploding basically sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's also was like, I remember once that sometimes you just started jumping when you went on the drawer. Sometimes the drawer was just kind of jiggling about.
Yeah, it would sometimes just get stuck in geometry and basically kind of continuously explode for a while, and it would just shake a lot. And walking on it was horrible because the player would shake and sometimes you'd fall off, and it's horrible.
Yeah, there's 3 specific events happening when you actually break bottles, and it gets more and more kind of tense, scary, and the more and more presence of a monster each time you break glasses. And that's kind of also to show people that glasses are dangerous, and also to reinforce the idea about the monster and the bottles, and kind of make people think about the association between those two.
the endless drawer, which we call it, is also a thing we wanted to do because we think that it fits the theme of something realistic but still being very unrealistic, so it fits the theme of the child's imagination. A drawer that just stretches into, like, it seems like it never stops, it goes on forever.
Right here we have like a little secret door. If you found this, it means that you got an achievement, which is cool, because you can click on this little thing, which is a sort of morphed version of the music box, and you play a horribly perverted version of the lullaby.
Well, first, I would like us to have populated the small closets everywhere. Now, almost none of the doors are openable, but our vision was to have most of them openable, and inside you would find something that was sort of unique. But of course, that was kind of crazy to begin with, so we didn't.
If you twist the globe for a while, it actually starts playing a little bit of a melody.
This room, I do like it. And as you can see, this is very reminiscent of the room in the intro part of the level. You have the same type of floor with markings on it, and you also have codes everywhere. And this is where code becomes a theme for this level, which is also because of how the monster is designed. That is just a big code. We wanted the player to go through it and then trigger the codes to suddenly move, to make it feel as if there was something in the room with the player. And this is one of the points of the game where the physics solution does not work out perfectly, at least not the way we move the codes. We add force at the codes so that they move, and all of these codes have bones and stuff, right? So all of the codes are rigged and have bones, and we add force to them, but it just it just does not look like we wanted them to. We really wanted it to look like something was actually moving through the coats, but yeah, so it didn't work out quite as well as I'd hoped.
We wanted to connect the breaking of bottles to scary atmosphere, and you shouldn't want to break the bottles because then you spawn the monster. So this is where we show that this happens for the first time.
One thing that I think is quite special about the game is how we have kind of resolved the entire game and how events play out through physics. Well, at least most of it. So where it would probably have been easier just animating stuff and have a predictive behavior, we instead work with physics for the entire game and how the player moves, from how the player moves to how apples roll to how doors open. There are some animations, of course, but there's a lot of... The game is built a lot on top of physics.
This is the game's hub room in a way, like the same as the painting area in the level 3. This is sort of where your main objective can be seen. Like there's a star door, which is quite beautiful, and you kind of see a texture reminiscent of the memory fields from previous levels.
So you immediately know what to do and how to get to the imagination object inside of the room, because you just came through the moon key door that we call it. You have just been introduced to how this door works, so you know that as soon as you see the star key door and the imagination field behind it, you know that there's the imagination field and there's a door blocking me and I need a star shape of some kind.
So when the player drops back into this room, I think for a while it was a bit confusing with the whole backtracking, and it's not quite backtracking. The player goes in, blah blah blah. So when you return here, you have gone in a loop. You've gone back a different way than the one you came, so you end up in a place that it was before, but it's not that easy to recognize as somewhere you have been. But as soon as we got these big glowing doors in, it was instantly recognizable. So this drawer is another thing that didn't really work well with a physics-based solution. It used to be driven by the physics system, so it actually didn't stop unless something physically blocked it. But since it moved so fast, it would go straight through the object before detecting that it was there and cause a lot of trouble and making the level unfinishable for a lot of players. And it actually was like that for a couple of days after initial release. So we spent some time and remade it completely using much more controllable animations. It looks just the same, but it's a lot more stable.
drawer also works as a red thread throughout the whole chapter, as it's very unorganized and chaotic layout-wise. You're still always following the drawer.
There was one ID where you looked into a closet and you looked down on yourself from an earlier part of the level, like a time portal through a closet. I liked that idea, but it was hard to implement, and it was just a fun idea. It didn't really add to the story, but it's something I would like to see.
Isn't the remnants of that actually where we are now? Like you kind of go and you get teleported up in the air.
Yes.
So that was the space right here that we actually were supposed to see that. Right?
Yes.
Right here we have one of the rooms that is sort of, I think, one of the coolest rooms that no one really probably noticed, because it has so many cool small tricks to it. Like you can go into this little side door and you would actually get on top and look all the way down. And later when you get back, the whole room will have rotated, and not too many people noticed that. Actually, I sure didn't until someone told me the first time I tried it. I think we also had an idea here too, that you would see yourself if you go to the secret exit, and you would look down and see yourself, but that was kind of a bit tricky, I guess.
This was also actually a game mechanic for a puzzle that was used in an earlier iteration of the level, where you come into the room, and if you look up, you can see that you are in a long hallway. And there's a very long way to the top, and then you would go through this door, and then you would end up at the very top, and you would have to push like a box down, and so that this box could be used down on the first floor, and in order to reach something. But this didn't survive the iterations.
Like we spent so much time iterating this puzzle, which is sort of like it started out as a perspective puzzle. Now it's not quite that, I guess, or
not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, this room started out with a perspective-based puzzle that had the player had to get into position in order to see the objects from a specific angle, and then pick up a bottle that was actually way too big, but it looked the right size from the right angle, and it was a really, really tough idea to convey to the player. So we ended up having to take it out, and we replaced it with a copy of the kitchen from the first level in order to tie these levels better together. And it worked okay in the end, though the perspective room, if we had managed to design it in a way that everyone could understand, or at least to be possible to figure out, I think that would have been a more unique solution to it.
Yeah, it was definitely a hard defeat for us, because the idea is super cool, and this is one of the things that we really learned, that well, this is another example of how a design on paper is just 150% different when you get it in to the actual game, and because you'll just see how players that does not have the same top-down understanding of the game as yourself, the creators. So it started off as with one of the coolest ideas, and then you just or we just realized during the production that this was too hard, and we really couldn't make it work. We tried really hard for a long time. The room had several iterations, but then we just ended up scrapping it. But the cool thing about it is, I think that could work as the core of a whole game, though. But that's how it would have to have been introduced, I think, or much earlier in the level, and then it would have just turned out as the perspective level instead of anything else. So it just wasn't worth it in the end.
The most frustrating thing about the whole perspective idea was that when every single tester who understood what we were doing when we told them what they should do thought it was really cool, but I don't think anyone figured it out on their own because we didn't present it correctly. But yeah, the perspective room, you go through a door and you enter a room, and it's weird because in front of you have this big bottle, and inside it there's a key, and yeah, the key as well is huge, like twice as big as the baby, and the rest of the room is just populated with strange geometry. Nothing looks right, and it doesn't resemble anything, but something drags you kind of through the room. You want to explore, so you go to the other end, and so the idea here was that when the player turns around at the other side, everything that is in the room will align, and you will see that the bottle is now standing on top of a table, and it looks like it's within reach because it's so big when it's on the other side of the room, but when you go to the other side again, it looks just the right size. So, and it's also conveniently placed on top of a table that kind of comes together with all these pieces that are flying around in the air, and then you could pick up the bottle, and it would now be.
Well, you still can though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's not in there anymore though.
Is it? Oh yeah.
Nope. It's all gone. We took it out because it was really hard to get people to understand it. Because we're supposed to go through and then turn around and pick up the bottle that used to be huge but now looks small. And when you pick it up, we would move it towards the player so it actually is right in front of you in the right size. So we figured out how to do that, and it looks perfect. Like you can't see the bottle getting smaller. It just, you pick it up and then you suddenly have it in your hand. But none of our playtesters understood how this worked. Or when I first picked up the bottle, it was cool and everyone liked it, but we couldn't figure out in time how to make people understand that this was what we wanted them to do in this room. That made us, in the end, cut the entire thing.
Could you say, like in team meet, Edmund Arkmiel says that once you have a skill that is kind of only used once, it's kind of useless.
Right.
And in my opinion, like we didn't really properly integrate the whole concept of perspective rooms. I think that's kind of the main problem, that when people got in there, they weren't used to think that, oh, this is something I will do with perspective.
Because for this entire level, we, as mentioned, we wanted everything to be unique, and we had many small ideas that didn't fit in other levels that we felt we could just put inside a random closet in this level and make that part of the kind of randomness, and yeah, it should be room for anything. But the perspective room, it started out as just this kind of small weird room that didn't necessarily have a purpose, but then we ended up using it for one of the main objectives in the level, which is getting the key to the star-shaped door. And yeah, it was the only place in the game where you would do anything with perspective in that way. So people did not expect, they did not think in the right way because we hadn't introduced it. So it's a cool effect though, and I would really like to explore it more in another game. Maybe someday.
Right here we have one of the rooms that is sort of, I think, one of the coolest rooms that no one really probably noticed, because it has so many cool small tricks to it. Like you can go into this little side door and you would actually get on top and look all the way down. Oh, look here, now it's different. You get back in the hallway and it looks different now. So many new things, and now you can walk this way. This is actually quite really clever way to sort of present, instead of like boxes in level 1, now we have the freedom to do more weird stuff. So now we actually have the possibility to rotate the room and thereby opening it up to more kind of interesting ways of leading the player.
Yes, so upon opening this door, you topple another bottle, and then as you naturally turn left while walking in through the door, you see the monster. And so this is the second time the monster actually appears physically as a reaction of the bottle breaking, and this is also where the monster is able to catch you for the first time. After this first event, when you break the bottle upon entering, you have to be careful, because if you break more, then the monster will physically come and chase you.
This is also a fun fact, the last teaser for our game was filmed in this very hallway. That's right, kids, it was all real. Is there any spot in the game that you kind of look at now and like, I wish you could have done that properly or differently? Or
One that comes to my mind is the areas that we call the heap hallways in level 4, where the scary cope monster is like on top of you most of the time, where you, if you're not careful, you'll knock down bottles, and which will make him come and chase you and all that. And that there are several reasons for that, particularly because the audio system is really bugged or whatever it is. It's crazy, the whole, because it's supposed to be like the scariest part, the most intense parts of the game, and then sometimes it doesn't ever play sounds. So but we have of course seen playthroughs where it does work, and that's just then I think it's a lot better. But just the whole the AI to just the monster behavior and stuff, I guess every of the monster encounter turned out a bit different, and I would have wanted them to be a bigger part of the game. I would have, because the goal was to have a lot more hiding, that you were supposed to just like, we're gonna make hiding spots everywhere so you can always just hide underneath something, and so the monster can pass you. And then as we started developing and we encountered some troubles and some hardships, and it just I just had to accept at some point, like, we're not gonna get the AI that I really picture in my head, and it's not gonna be as organic as I want it to be. So yeah, the parts with the AI, and particularly in level 4 Into the Closet, I would have liked to changed.
Yeah, there's a lot of things surrounding bottles in this level, and because of that, we really, this is kind of the first time where we are really explicit kind of alcohols. There's a lot of things surrounding bottles in this level, and because of that, we really, this is kind of the first time where we are really explicit about kind of alcohols. Yeah, it was a very complex place to actually have an AI wander around, because like it's just too many obstacles for it, and like AI is at best extremely dumb. So it's basically, it was hard to get it to work correctly. So with limited kind of where we ended up, it was still cool, but yeah, our dreams were bigger certainly than this.
I wish we did a better job with everything. Like, everything could have been done better, but like, I think especially level 4 is the one I really wanted to see even better. And I also wanted to see more of the monster in level 4. It seems like the climax of the game comes in level 3 instead of level 4, which would be the logical place to have the climax. So that's something I think we could have improved.
Right now we go back to hub. It's sort of fall shoot, and this is actually, I guess, where we sort of disregard totally the baby's safety too, because like right here you're on the shelf and you can just fall straight down. It's really not safe for a kid, but at this point we just let them realize that yeah, it's not safe for a kid anyway.
We did though. We did implement a cushion or something, right? From if you go to the end of the plank and jump down, there is like a pillow or something soft you can land on.
We got the final memory. Let's hurry.
Yeah, like right now it's sort of, you got everything cool, and you look forward to getting back to hub. I kind of like the fact that for all the other levels we had this, after you picked up the memory piece, it was safe, you know, like there was only safety until the pipe. And for this one, this is the last one since we established the rule that it was kind of safe, and this time we decided to break it with a heart-wrenching cutscene-ish thing.
The story builds up to this very specific point in time where the teddy bear actually gets caught by the monster and is killed, and this was also designed at the time when Teddy was evil, and so to serve as another distraction, and to make the players not think of Teddy being the bad character. But we decided to keep it because it fits really well with the current story, and also this is why Teddy says upon picking up the imagination object, the fourth, he says, "We have the final piece. Let's hurry." Yeah, it's just to build up to the cutscene and just make it worse. Just he's being happy and then you just surprise the player with something horrible.
Okay, so this is the beginning of the end of the game, and as Teddy has just missed his arm and it's lying in front of you, and you can see cotton from Teddy just falling through the air slowly. So in this area we wanted to make the player feel very alone and a bit disoriented, as you have just lost what we wanted to be the player's main companion throughout the game, Teddy. So it's very dark, and you just follow the lights and the sound as you go.
I really enjoy simplicity and like specific focus kind of experiences. So I really enjoy the part towards the end when you're walking through the dark area after losing your teddy bear, and you're approaching the last time you're in the hub, and you've got Teddy's broken arm in your hand, and you're just walking from light source to light source, and it's kind of you're understanding their connections, and you're seeing how your mother is connected to the problems and how she's an alcoholic for the first time. So, and that area is really specific. You're walking from this light source, and then it turns off, and then this one turns on, and it's so concentrated. And especially like in contrast to the extremely complex level which you're just exited, like the closet level where everything's just broken and there's wall and doors and holes and things everywhere.
This area we have always called the forest, which doesn't make much sense now because it doesn't look like a forest at all. And the reason why is that at an earlier iteration of this area we had like stone pillars looking like just like trees but made out of stone, just huge rocks and these sort of like cylinder formations all over the place, and we wanted to make this the most intense.
When you're trying to tell a story in a video game using mostly environmental storytelling and not dialogue and explicit.
And the whole thing with turning off the lights is here. It is also revealed.
For Among Us Thieves, especially, like I really remember a few spots, especially in the forest, like before the last level. I remember the monsters were static, and then I remember you kind of said you'd done something on them, and so you're walking around in the forest, and suddenly you see some scary things. And what did you do there? Like, what before and after? What?
I was just taking this bare bones implementation and taking everything you've learned about adding movement, adding juice, and adding that to the elements you already have, and it just enhances everything. Yeah, it's really fun to do.
Not now. Not now, hon. I said not now. None of us want that.
this is the last time we visit the hub in the game, and this time the transition to the hub level is very different from the ones seen in the other levels. You don't go through the pipe this time, and this sort of marks the transition from the child piecing things together in his head and sort of understanding more, and for the player it marks the transition from the dreamlike to the real world. And here also, since the player don't have Teddy anymore, but we have Teddy's arm, the player can use Teddy's arm to unlock and open the door. And this was also something we did for the feels. Like we really wanted it to be sad and to feel like a loss when you don't have Teddy anymore. So this is we wanted Teddy to be the only one to be able to open this door, to make him feel like Teddy helps you and he's powerful. He can do some things that you can't, and you need him. And so when you lose him, you don't have the safety anymore. You can't use him as a light source. And then luckily you have his arm and you can use it to continue. I really like the transition from the hub level to the house, back to the child's room. Just how the screen fades and with the ambient music, and then opening the door and from the closet, and sort of realizing that you've been hiding in the closet. All the way throughout this level you walk downstairs, and on the way you will see and find many different objects, all of which you have seen during the game and you have interacted with, like the jigsaw pieces from level 3 and the moon and star shaped keys from level 4, the owls from level 2. And this is done to tell the player that they have been in the house the whole time. It's been the child's imagination running wild, and all the scary parts have been caused by the mother being drunk and making a mess in the house, and just creating a environment that feels unsafe for the child.
And 2 months before release, I guess we just changed the whole thing, and I'm really satisfied with how much clearer the whole thing became overnight, almost. Of course, it's been our first project, so we're all inexperienced, and there's been a lot of not necessarily disagreements, but there's been a bit different ways we have want to go, each of us, during the production. So it was nice when we ended up changing that. Everyone seemed to kind of come to peace with the new ending and really agree that this was the best way we could go with the ending, with the mother as an alcoholic figure. And yeah, the whole story became more centered around this one theme, instead of being all over the place, nobody understanding much of what really was going on.
The last thing I hope people that play the game appreciate is that it's the thematics of the game, right? Like the subject that we want to explore, and how fragile children can be, and I hope that is appreciated, because it's something we wanted the player to kind of build experience he's having on.
So in this level we kind of go full circle and end up right where the game began. It really makes it feel like an ending and closure to everything.
We also really wanted the mother to be experienced as she's not evil or just straight up a villain in any sense, but we wanted to portray the side of being a human and how a person dealing with personal problems and in this case being a divorce, a breakup, a bad relationship, and how this can affect a human being. So she's not at all evil, but she's just not capable of taking care of herself and the child at the same time. She loves the child, but she's not a good fit for taking care of and also it feels so open that it can be interpreted as anything. Like some people have been mentioning that you can interpret this as the child actually dying. So it's open for interpretation.
Stay away from me! I'm sorry. I never meant to. It's too much.
The story was changed, not to something completely different, but we basically just cut a part out that we wanted to be the main story, which was the Teddy being evil and all that, and we just cut that out and used the mother and the father situation, the family situation, as the core story, just because the all of those elements were in the game anyways, and it just worked a lot better.
People will maybe also recognize the voice of Teddy as the father who picks you up. And as the game starts in the kitchen with the father coming to the door, it also makes the same full circle. It ends where it started.
A nifty little detail that not too many people seem to have picked up on is that the voice of both the Teddy character and the father character is played by the same voice actor, and both voices are intentionally made pretty similar, because the teddy bear is a representation of the child's memories of the father, so that we wanted the characters to feel and sound similar enough and be just this warm, loving character, that in the very end, in the final scene where you hear the voice of the father, we wanted the players to think, that's Teddy, but still to understand that that's not Teddy, it's the father, and then to from there understand that the teddy bear has been just this picture, this image of the father in child's head this entire time.
Hi there, little one. Come here. Did you like your gift? What happened to his arm? Don't worry. We'll fix him up.